Hi folks, welcome back to our Gen Con stream. More fascinating games to cover today. I am joined by Will and Oz from Privateer Press. We have an exciting game to talk about today, but first of all, Privateer Press is fairly well known, but for those of the audience who might not know what you do, how about you talk a little bit to your company?
Well, we've been around for more than 15 years now. Like Gen Con 2000, 2001 was when the company started. Started as an RPG company and eventually made War Machine and Hordes, which is our big flagship game that a lot of people recognize. We made some board games and that kind of stuff over the years. And right now we're focusing on War Machine and Hordes and Monsterpocalypse, which we just launched at Gen Con last year.
Yeah.
And now Riot Quest, our brand new game that is completely different than anything else we've ever seen from us.
It's way more casual
different.
than anything we've ever done before. Because people that know War Machine and Hordes, they know that like it's a deep, crunchy, strategic, competitive game.
Yeah.
And then Monsterpocalypse is probably like the second best known property we have, which is still a deep strategy game, not as much as War Machine, but it's easier to get into.
Yeah.
But it's like as a miniature game, we've never made like a party game. We've never really made a super casual game. And so Riot Quest is the first one we've done like that, and we've been demoing it all show long. We've been selling it pre-orders or pre-releases here, and the response has been awesome.
Yeah.
Like, people that play it, they're like, "This is great." And one thing I love is being able to see somebody go, "I can play this with my kids.
Yeah.
I can play this with my friends who don't play miniatures games."
Yeah.
And seeing, because that's what we want to do is reach out to that larger community of people that might feel intimidated by miniatures games or like big war games. Like, that's too much. This is like super simple to get into.
Yeah. You mentioned pre-orders, so it's now available for...
It's pre-releasing here, but it's in stores in, 2 weeks?
Okay.
Yes. Mid-September, early September is when it's coming out.
Okay,
And
so
then it
you-
rolls out after that, but yeah.
Pre-release, you have copies available
Yeah,
here?
we have the starter boxes,
Okay.
and then we have the first 6 hero expansions.
Okay.
Because one of the things in this game is you build a salvage team. The core box comes with 5 heroes, and when you play, it's between 5 and 10 models, and you and your opponent sort of agree, like, let's play a 6 model game, let's play a 7 model game. But with a starter box, you're good to go, and then you just kind of just add heroes to it. There's no point buy or army building in this game. You just agree how many models you want to bring, and then put the models that you own that you want to play with on the table.
Yeah. So we had... The points thing is interesting, because for a traditional War Machine or Hordes game, you would play your number of points, and so you might have like a couple of very big, powerful things, or a bunch of smaller, less powerful things. So these are, before the show, I had said balanced. I think equally powered is probably a better
they're
sense.
kind of equivalent, but we
Yeah.
have 6 different classes in the game.
Yeah.
Like things like fighter, rogue, guard, those kind of things. And the balance of each model is how good it is at a particular job.
Yeah.
Like fighters are melee guys, and gunners shoot people, and then guards guard people, and specialists build things and stuff. But then you have rogues and scouts, and every individual model, like you said, has 3 abilities, and 2 of those are unique, and one of them is the class ability. So every scout has the same one and everything like that. And you're going to have all these different jobs to do, and different models will be better at certain jobs as the course of the game goes. So yes, like Bella, who's one of the first models that comes out in a blister, she's an amazing fighter.
She kills everything.
Yeah.
But she can't sneak through spaces with enemies in them like Gubbin can.
Yeah.
Gubbin can throw a bomb and hit multiple people in one time. So
So when I designed the rules, I took a real MOBA approach to it.
That's what first came to my mind.
It is the idea. So I play a fair number of MOBAs, and there's no points in that, right? And all these different heroes need to just do the thing they do well enough that when you own the model, you're like, yeah, I can play this and have it do something cool. And the other idea is, even if we're playing, say, 10 models each, you only ever have 4 models in play at a time. The rest are on your bench waiting to be spawned in, and you only ever spawn someone in when one of the other ones gets knocked out. So building sort of a diverse roster of characters so that somebody gets knocked out and you're like, okay, what's currently happening? I could use a really tough bruiser or a tank or a healer.
Yeah.
Then you have that person available to spawn in. And as long as that healer is good at healing, you're good to go.
Yeah.
And as we go through the game a little bit and explain what you're trying to accomplish, it'll be really obvious that, like, oh, so this rogue is really good right now.
Yeah.
And then the specialist, maybe I want the specialist to run over there and do that maybe later.
Yeah.
And so often the game will kind of change the value of different classes as it goes. And maybe your fighter won't be as valuable for a few activations because
Sometimes fighting's not the point.
Really
Yeah.
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 Because if you've got to like plant a bomb somewhere or do something else like that, then punching someone might not help that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't punch bombs.
There-
That is a
Don't
terrible.
punch bombs.
Don't punch
I
bombs.
love punching bombs.
Yeah, but maybe they're a character who likes punching bombs.
There might
Probably Gubbin, the little
There.
goblin with all the explosives on him.
Yeah. So that's interesting. It's focused on team composition. So in a MOBA, obviously, like who you put on your team is very important, but not just team composition of people going out, but future, and probably a lot about your playstyle too.
Yes.
Right? Like it is goal or scenario dependent, but some people would just like to play in different ways or like take advantage of synergies between different characters.
Absolutely, and then sometimes, so our lead playtester is Tony. He's actually our video producer at Privateer Press, and the reason I've had him lead playtesting is because he likes really casual board games
Okay.
and stuff like that. He's not a super crunchy guy, so he was great for this. We've developed 30 expansions for this already, like out through 2021.
Oh, wow.
Stuff that'll be releasing.
Yeah.
And so at the office, we have access to all the playtest stuff. And lately, Tony will literally take the stack of hero cards and shuffle them, and he'll
Nice,
just deal
yeah.
out 10 heroes,
Yeah.
and then he'll get the gear cards and shuffle them and deal those out for himself. And I'd be like, "What's your plan?" He's like, "Whatever happens."
Yeah.
And it's actually kind
Yeah.
of fun to playtest that way
Yeah.
because all of a sudden these combos that we didn't intentionally were looking at,
Yeah.
it's totally random, come up, and I'm like, okay, this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is important because I think for me as a min-maxer and people, anyone competitive want to win, say like, oh, I see these synergies, but throwing things together and unveiling things is also very cool.
Yeah.
So let's mention before we get into it,
Yeah.
so certain characters you had mentioned from people might recognize.
Yeah, so
right?
the storyline of Riot Quest is that it is a post-apocalyptic war machine setting.
Yeah.
It's like an alternate timeline. It's not canon. It's a what if. It's like, what if all the wars of War Machine went bad and the world just went
Yeah.
right? And so only the toughest, the sneakiest, and the cagiest survived.
Yeah.
And now all the castles are left unguarded. There's loot and treasure everywhere. So you are building a salvage team running around the ruins to just get as much gear and loot as you can. But the problem is there's all kinds of traps and there's other salvage teams showing up.
Yeah.
So this game will have different maps coming out of it, which represent the different areas you can fight over. There's different treasure decks, which indicate the kind of treasure you might find. And then there's the bounty deck, which is the way you score VPs in this game to ultimately win. And those three elements, map, treasure, and bounty, are all modular. You can mix and match them however you want to. And it's actually we would sit down, we would pick our map, we would pick our treasure tables, and we'd pick our bounties, and then we would assemble our crews out of the models we own.
Right.
So that some maps and some types of bounty decks, you might be like, well, I know that this map's really good for people that are fast, so I'm gonna bring faster characters. Or like this one's got choke points on it, so I'm gonna bring tankier characters. And so you get to know your arena before you decide who's coming in.
Yeah, but for anybody out there who's a War Machine fan, Eris, the classic elven assassin, she's in the starter box, and Boomhowler, the Trollkin bard guy, he has lost his squad of troopers, and now he's carrying a big chain gun running around mowing people down.
Although there is a controversy in the community whether it's really Eris or not, because all of the artwork of Eris, she has a tattoo across her midsection, and the artwork of Eris in this one doesn't have the tattoo. Did the apocalypse
Interesting.
remove the tattoo? I don't think that's how that
Did
works.
you
It
remove
was
monsters,
temporary.
Yeah.
Multiverse, alternate timeline.
It could be. It's got to be
like,
something.
I love those fan theories.
Yeah, there's a big community discussion on Facebook right now about this conspiracy, and it is going off the rails.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it just going,
Yeah. And of course, anyone who knows Privateer Press and War Machine and Hordes will know that these come unassembled
Yes.
and unpainted. Because I would say, for a newer audience, seeing these things like, oh my gosh, those look so amazing, you will have to paint them yourself.
Yeah, we were writing the line here. We're calling this a board game with hobby miniatures.
Yeah.
So it plays a lot like a board game, and as we release more maps, they'll be on neoprene and that kind of stuff. But it's definitely a hobby project to get you kind of in just like your toe wet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you to start, you just need to paint 5 miniatures. They're each unique heroes, so you're not painting blocks of 10
Yeah.
sword guys or whatever, those big projects. And so you can kind of work yourself into the hobby side of it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And play a game that's fairly approachable from a miniatures
Yeah.
perspective too.
And I do want to say, if anyone is intimidated by the idea of painting miniatures, you don't have to, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you wanted to, the main thing you want to make sure is that any miniatures you have that your opponent might also have, that you can tell the difference between them.
Yeah.
So if people
Yeah.
assemble their miniatures and then just sprayed them red, and you
Yeah.
sprayed yours blue, as long as we could tell the difference. So if you're like, I don't want to paint it all, don't be dissuaded,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can totally just spray them down.
Yeah, you'll notice ours have their bases painted in
Yeah.
colors so that we can tell whose team is who.
Yeah, and because the actual paint jobs on the individual characters
Pretty similar.
are the
Yeah.
same. But
Yeah.
for a minis game, starter box, 5 minis in there, and like that's all you need to get started. Like you don't need to think about like what do I need to get, like how do I build a team.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's assembled there. So
Yeah, and like that MOBA style, there are like factions and countries and all that stuff, but you can pick anybody you want on your team. So just because in like War Machine, these two people from like warring nations,
yeah,
the apocalypse has happened. Everybody, it's
Yeah.
everybody like any friends you can get. So as more models come out, if you have 12 models and you have like the 10 you play most of the time and the couple you swap in, then a new model coming in gives you interesting choices of, well, does this become one of my primary people I play all the time?
Yeah.
Or is this my like, oh, on that one map I like this model, but other times I play other models.
yeah,
Yeah.
And they're all very unique and interesting characters. Like we have Lady with the Giant Bazooka, we have Eris, who's an assassin with crossbows. We have Balthazar Bamfist, who's got a mecha arm and is a magic dwarf.
Yes.
We've got Sir Dreyfus, the Storm Knight, with a jetpack. And we've got Gubbin, who has too many explosives, literally,
Yeah.
on his card.
Yeah, that's the name of the
His
weapon.
is called Too Many Explosives.
too many explosives.
Yeah.
I
He's
love
a
it.
bomb guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then as other models come out, we've got a Crocodile Man, who's a sea captain.
Captain Crawtooth.
Yeah. And on all
We've
those
got the
ones.
4 horsey mans.
We do.
It's
Horsey
four.
mans?
It's 4 gremlins pretending to be war, death, famine, and pestilence because the
Yeah.
apocalypse happened, and
Oh my gosh,
they're
yeah.
called the 4 horsey mans of the apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect example because you had mentioned before that you're being a little more lighthearted
This,
here.
This is Saturday morning
Saturday
cartoon.
morning
Yeah.
cartoon.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I told this story at our keynote. I started just pitching ideas to Matt, and he didn't say no to any of them.
There-
He was like, yes,
Yes.
and I was like, really?
Yeah.
We're doing this?
Yeah.
So like, it gets weird, and
Yeah.
we're getting like, because you could do the apocalypse all grim and dark. And we were like, let's go a totally different direction. Let's go bright and poppy and just sort of like, because it's a what if. So let's get really bizarre
Yeah.
with it. And I
Yeah.
think fans of the setting are going to see these things and get a chuckle and then want to pick up the miniatures. And people that just play Riot Quest that don't play the deeper games, it's going to fit this, again, Saturday morning apocalypse look of the whole
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned adding in other characters. One of my favorite things in a MOBA, or something that I've gotten more used to, is trying that character that you're like, I don't think that's really my
Yep.
play style. And then you play
Yep.
them, you're like, oh, this is the best thing ever.
Yep.
It's like I do like hiding in bushes and like throwing things out, or like doing explosives, or being the big smashy person.
Yep.
You can do all of those.
And one of the cool things, so every character you buy comes with their hero stat card.
Okay,
and
yeah.
You get a gear card with them. It's not associated with them. You just get a gear card. And what the gear card is, when you start the game, you build a hand of gear cards. This is your shop. You build your shop of like the weapons and armor and
Yeah.
stuff you can buy as you go. You put one card in your hand for every model you brought. So as you buy more heroes, you get more cards, and eventually it becomes well, I'm going to bring these 7 heroes, and I'm going to try them with these 7 pieces of gear in the shop to equip them with as the game goes on.
Yep.
And then you start doing those combinations, so where you can even just keep playing the same models but swap the gear out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's where your like combos and like permutations come
Yeah.
from. And you can like be like, I've got this healer class, but I decided to bring this like super axe. I wonder what it does on him.
Yeah.
And like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some obvious fun combos. James is one of the very first expansion models. She has telescoping blades, which makes melee weapons reach farther.
Okay.
And Captain Crawtooth, we talked about earlier, is swinging a hook on a rope that already goes 3 inches, or 3 spaces.
Yeah.
So telescoping blades attached to the hook makes it go 5. So it's a melee attack that can
It
go
go-
5 spaces
It's a
away
melee attack that goes
and yank
further than
people
like
out.
Dez's bazooka. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
from downtown, he's like, gotcha.
Yeah, so there's all
Yoink.
kinds of crazy combos
Yeah.
as you start adding those gear items that will really play around with characters. So older characters with newer gear, new characters with older gear, and all those combinations for min-maxing
Yeah.
and making that perfect team are a lot of fun things that get bigger and bigger as the game gets bigger.
And that's a very important point to make, is each one comes with 1 gear card.
Yes.
Yes.
But they are not. You don't have to play them with
No.
those gear cards.
No.
You
Nope.
also don't have to put the gear card for the character
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
The
when you
gear
play
cards
them.
are totally neutral,
Yeah.
and so when
Yep.
you build your shop, you build your hand of cards. That's whoever you want it to go on.
Yeah.
And then I guess before we get started, there's other expansions we're going to do. There's going to be a lot of different maps, like I mentioned, but we're also going to do like terrain expansions. We're going to create models that you can actually put on the map to represent some of the stuff you see on the map to add a little depth. And
Yeah.
those will come with more treasure cards, more bounty cards, more gear cards, just ways to expand beyond just the normal
Yep.
hero blister that's the the 2 cards, the hero card and that 1 gear card. So the game's going to get a lot of depth to it as it goes on. But we're trying to manage it so it never becomes like, we don't want a year from now, you go, I want to start Riot Quest, and somebody goes, well, here's everything.
Exactly,
And you're like,
yeah.
I don't even know where to start.
I give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get started, real quick, this is available here at Gen Con. What's your booth number?
429, yes, I hope.
For something. For something.
For probably 29.
Yeah.
So we'll call that out at the end as well. But just in case you are here at Gen Con, you will be able to check out this game. You're doing demos.
We're doing demos
as well.
nonstop. We're doing this game can be played 1v1, 3-player free-for-all, or 4-player free-for-all.
Excellent.
So we've been doing 4-player demos the whole time, and it's been awesome. They've been packed
Yeah.
nonstop, and it's been cool. You know where those are because you hear people like yelling and hooping and hollering, which is always a good sign, by the way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's
Let's get
dive
into
in.
it. So let's go over the 5 heroes we're playing with. I'm gonna be doing a lot of leaning, by the way, so excuse me.
Yeah.
So the point of the game is to score 7 victory points. The first one of us to score 7 victory points wins the game. There's 2 ways to score victory points. There is an ever-present deck of cards called scrap cards, and those say when you knock an enemy hero out of the arena, grab one of these cards, and they're worth 1 victory point. Then there's going to be a deck of bounty cards. We shuffle this up, it's random. And this is an open market of goals between all players. There's always 2 of them in play at a time. And they have rules of what they're doing to the arena and how you score it. And the first person to reach the goal takes the card and puts it over by them, and that goes in their VP total. And then on the next player's turn, a new bounty card flips over. So the way to score VPs is always changing. And these are both worth 1, but there are some that are worth more. And usually you will often get more VPs off the bounties than you will just beating people up.
Yeah.
So that's the way you win. There's also going to be a treasure chest in play at all times with a treasure card that says what you could find in that chest. You'll almost always gain loot, gold, when you open a treasure chest. And loot is a currency you spend to buy and equip the gear cards based on whatever their loot cost is. And the gear cards are just power-ups. They're going to make your heroes better at doing things.
Yeah.
We start the game where we have 4 heroes in the arena, and you never have more than 4. And then it's an alternating activation game where I'll activate a hero, I'll activate a hero, you activate a hero. We keep going around. We each get 6 actions a turn, and those 6 actions are spread across all of our heroes. So if we have one hero take, say, 3 actions, they run, open a treasure chest, and punch somebody, well, that's 3 of my 6 spent for the entire round.
Yeah.
So that means I've only got 3 for the remainder, and we don't get our actions back until everyone has spent all 6 of theirs. So let me show you what the 3 most common actions are you can do in the game.
Sure.
So let's say Dez is here. And I've got my 6 action dice right here. So the first one is run. You take an action die off your dice well, and you put it on the hero's card to show that they spent that action. And it doesn't matter what the facing is, you just put it there.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a speed at the top of their card, and that's how many spaces they can move on the map. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The treasure beacons and the spawn gates, these are blocked. You can't move through those. And the ones with the little hazard symbols count as 2 spaces. But if you're inside of them, they make you harder to hit.
Okay.
So you're-
Bushes you can hide in.
yeah, you're basically taking cover.
See that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be treasure chests on the beacons. If you are next to one, you can spend an action die to open it, and then you will roll on the treasure table to see what kind of good stuff you find. Often loot, but sometimes it might be stuff like gain some loot tokens and heal somebody on your true, or like gain some loot tokens and teleport somebody. You never, it'll always be beneficial. None of the treasure chests are trapped.
Okay.
You never have to worry about them blowing up.
Good to know.
The other most common one is going to be attacking. So attacking is the only one that you can choose to spend more than 1 white die, and that's because you're going to have the white die you spend on attacking, you actually end up rolling.
Oh, okay.
So when you attack somebody, everybody has weapons. They might have just melee, they might have just ranged, or they might have both, like Des has got both.
Yeah.
The number in the bullseye says how many spaces away you can attack. So like her dagger, she can attack 1 space away, whereas the supercharged bazooka, she can go up to 3 away.
Does it have to be 3? Can it be?
could
Can you
be-
still use it adjacent?
You may
Yeah.
absolutely point blank shoot somebody in the face with a
Yes.
bazooka.
And there's
I'm
no
looking
line of
forward to
sight
that.
rules and
Oh, okay.
none
Oh, yeah.
of those complexities in the game.
Absolutely. So if this was like, let's just say
Huh.
that was here and Gubbin's here, she
Yeah.
can shoot.
Oh,
They just
okay.
count away 3.
Yeah.
When you attack someone, you choose how many white dice you're going to spend, and then the white dice you end up spending will go on the hero's card, like we've been talking about. And then every weapon has a number of blue and red dice that you add to your pool for free. That's because Red dice have the most hits on them. Blue dice have the second most hits on them, and white dice are basically a 50-50 of hits. You would roll the dice, and then you would count up the number of strikes, and a die is either a blank, a 1, or a 2. You would count up the total hits on it, and then compare it to the defense of the person that you're attacking. If you hit, all the defenses are split into 2 numbers. So let's take a look at Eris, for example. She's defense 4/5.
Yeah.
If you roll equal to or higher than the first number, you hit them and do 1 point of damage. If you roll equal to or higher than the second number, you do super damage, which means you do 2 instead. So all attacks either do 1 or 2 damage. And the stamina is how many hit points they can take before they're knocked out. They're put in the cooler. They can't be spawned until they wake up later in the fight. So attacking, opening chests, and moving are the 3 most common actions. There's 2 other special ones, but I'll kind of go into those as we hit them.
Okay.
But the thing is, these actions can be done in any order, and you can't do the same action more than once. So Des couldn't say spend 1 to run and then spend another 1 to run, but she could run, open a treasure chest, and shoot somebody, or shoot somebody, open a treasure chest, and run. But the more dice you spend on one character, the less actions you're giving the rest of your characters later on in the round to be able to do anything cool. So let's play. And I will explain the individual special rules of characters as we go, but as a quick overview, Des, big rocket launcher, she's like single target damage, and she hits really hard, and if she hits you with a rocket, she actually sends you flying spaces away. Gubbin, high defense, low hit points. When you move, you can move through your own models, but you can't move through enemy models. And Gubbin can move through enemy models because he's so tiny. He can stick between their legs.
Gotcha.
When he makes a ranged attack against somebody, it doesn't just hit them. It hits them and every space around them with the explosions.
So when he point blank somebody, he hits himself.
Oh, yeah, by the way,
Oh.
he
He's
does.
wild and crazy.
So there's self-damage or
You,
team.
you normally can't target friendlies unless a card
Okay.
says you can. And
Yeah.
Gubbin's card says when you target someone, target everyone around them, including your own friendlies. So if Gubbin decides to throw a bomb point blank, it could go really bad for him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it though.
Yeah.
Dreyfus is really good
You
in
win.
melee, and when he's nearby enemies, he makes them easier to hit in melee. And he also, if he's next to a friendly, he increases their defense and like basically shield protects them and makes them harder to hit. Eris is really fast, really swift, and she makes enemies easier to hit with guns. So if you get her up in place, she's basically pointing people out so that your Dezes and Gubbins can get up there and do some damage. And then Balthazar is a pure support piece. He's got a fist. He'll punch you in the face if he has to. But what he does is he actually lets you remove dice off your heroes earlier than the end of the round so they might be able to go again. And he also makes the gear you buy on him and other friendlies nearby cost less so you can get more gear faster. So that's the sort of quick bio of each of them, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty as we play. So first off, we need to roll to see who's going first.
All
So
right.
grab your 6 white dice, roll them up, and count up the totals. I got 2.
I got 5.
Also 5.
Well, the 2 of you need to roll off, and I'm just going to sit over here and pout.
5. That's all I can roll.
Oh. I got 4.
All right, so
Yeah,
Oz will be
yeah.
our first player, and it will continue clockwise.
Yeah, probably for the best. I've never played before.
Oh, it's so easy. You have been fine.
Yeah.
During our demos, it's the best where like the first player is the one away from whoever's teaching, so that
Yeah.
everybody gets to go first. And like by the time it comes around to us, we realize like everyone's like got it.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
so the first thing we have to do is spawn in. We have to get our initial 4 characters in play. So here's how it works. Oz, pick a hero,
Gubbin.
roll a d6. You got the
6.
6. Now put Gubbin adjacent to the spawn gate 6.
Let me put him on the inside of that one over there.
So pick a hero you want to put in the arena.
Let's get Sir Dreyfus.
Roll a d6. And your Dreyfus is going to
1.
appear adjacent to the 1.
All right.
All right.
Go here.
Then I'll go. We're going to do this until we have all 4 in play. So you never know where your people are going to show up.
Yeah.
I'll do Dez because I like things with big guns. And
also
hey,
6.
what up, bro?
We're friends.
Careful.
Hmm.
Okay. I have Balthazar. His punching things is fun. The 2.
Back to you.
All right. So, quick question: if you had been on this side, would you be able to shoot
Absolutely.
through to?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And still block line of sight.
All right.
Which
5.
one?
I forgot to pick, but I was thinking
Balthazar?
Balthazar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
The 5's over there.
Near this treasure. Sure.
Man, we also had a demo earlier where like everybody rolled the 6 to start off, and it was just a party. And then one lady got the Gubbin here
Mm-hmm.
and went first. And so it's just like, hello, everyone.
Yeah.
I will do Gubbin in case that happens. I will put Gubbin.
2 over here.
2.
Would you just put me like next to Balthazar?
Okay. We're gonna go with Dreyfus on the 1. So
Dreyfus just hanging out. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's position Dez.
Okay, the 3's over
3.
here.
All right. Hang out here.
Okay. I'll do my Eris
Mm.
at the 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be near any of
Oh,
that.
it's right next to us?
Yeah, come hang out.
No.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go with my Dez.
Okay.
Because like we said,
So-
four heroes in play.
Man, the 4 is so lonely right now. There's just nobody over there.
Yeah.
Surround.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Why?
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I'll get my Eris.
Eris, okay.
3.
Oh, hanging out next to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
You got a
That's
little
great.
team.
Yeah.
Squad.
That's good.
Go
That's
team.
good. And I'll do Dreyfus at the 6.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
this
all
is
in
good. This is
there.
good. Okay, so when a player's turn starts, if they don't have 4 players in the arena, they spawn in like we just did until they have up to 4 players. Then, if there's not a treasure deck or treasure chest in play, you flip over the top card. This says what kind of treasure chest is going to appear, and you roll a d6. So our first treasure chest is the spiked chest, and it's going to pop up on the 3. So there's a treasure chest over there that we can walk over and spend an action die to open.
You have the easiest chance of doing
Yeah.
that, obviously.
That's great. I love
Yeah.
it.
In addition to the loot, every chest has usually a very simple rule, and the spike chest here says that gunners, which Dez is a gunner class hero, so they can open this without spending an action die. So if a
Oh.
Dez runs over there, she can do it for free. Anyone else has to spend the die.
Yeah.
Then, if there's not 2 bounty cards in play, we have to create our market, and we flip over bounty cards until we have them. So, our first one is Brain Snatcher. It says there's a mechanical brain on Treasure Beacon 4.
All right.
The goal. At the end of a player's turn, if they have 2 heroes adjacent to the cortex, they claim this bounty. So that one is pretty simple.
Yep.
And then next one is Get Lucky. If a hero rolls 2 or more doubles on any die roll they make, they automatically claim this bounty.
Ooh.
So that one's just
Every die has a single face that's a double.
yeah.
So every die has a chance of rolling.
So one of them is kind of pure RNG, and the other one is a
Yeah.
little strategic.
Yeah.
So Oz starts us
I am
off.
first.
And
So-
you say which hero you want to activate, and you start taking your actions.
So that treasure chest is really far away from my hero.
I see that.
And just attacking somebody might get me that thing. So let's shoot your Gubbin with my Dez.
Why?
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So
I like this. This is great.
I have to spend a white die to attack.
Yes.
So that's the beginning of my dice roll also.
Yep.
Dez has range 3, and I'm right there, so there's no problem there. She gets 3 blues and 1 red.
Yep. So now that we're activating Dez, I want to just talk about her 3 rules real special. She has aim, which says when she makes an attack, she can re-roll any number of the white dice. She has high density armor, which says enemy effects can't make her move, so she can't be pushed around. And then she herself has beat back on the bazooka that says when she shoots somebody, move them 2 spaces as long as they're further away from her than they start. She also rolls a ton of blue and red dice to shoot people.
And also, since I get to re-roll white dice with her, and I want to go for doubles, I'm going to throw 1 more extra one in there.
All right.
And it's a demo. I don't have to make good strategic
Yeah.
choices.
The
The-
one that you're spending for the action, you get to roll that as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All right.
Attack actions get rolled and then put on their card. Every other action die you spend
Gotcha.
just
Yep.
goes on their card.
So I hope you miss.
There's only
The
one
one
double.
double.
But I hit. So what is Gubbin's defense?
Yeah.
I'm a
that's-
5/6. What did you roll?
5/6. So that's a 5.
Yeah.
So that's one damage guaranteed.
And then you
I
did super
rolled-
damage to me?
Well, I will do super damage.
Oh, you're thinking about re-rolling
But
your
I
whites.
want to fish. I'm hitting you no matter what.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I want
see
to
that.
fish
You're
for
the worst.
another
For
double.
the double,
So I'm gonna roll
yeah.
both these.
If those come up double blanks, you know you don't kill me, right? No, you still
Yeah.
got me.
So I was hoping for a super strike, which is what the double's called, to get that bounty over there.
You're the worst.
But I knew I was going to do 1 damage, and Gubbin's only got
2 hit points. So
Yeah.
he rolled my super damage total, did 2, and then Gubbin's a wee little guy, so
Gubbin exploded.
Gubbin explodes. He goes to my cooler, So he's got to sit out the rest of the round. Oz gets a scrap card because he knocked out a hero.
Yep, so I have 1 point.
And then whenever a hero gets knocked out, a loot token, a gold, drops in the space they were in, and whoever moves through that space just gets a free loot for walking through.
So I could right now spend 1 to make Des pick up that treasure, but I'm not gonna throw more dice right now than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So your turn starts.
I'm
You don't need
completely
to. You don't need to spawn anybody. We
Yeah.
have a treasure chest and we have 2 bounties. So you just pick who you want to activate.
All right. So I believe Des should go after this spiked chest.
Yeah.
I'm also looking over at this brain.
Yeah, you can
Mechanical
get
brain here.
2
Yeah.
characters over there, which
Yeah.
is possible.
Yeah, and I can only do the 1 move, but I can start moving Des in that direction.
You could, yes.
Seems pretty good.
One of the other tricks we mentioned, Dreyfus is good at fighting and guarding people. He also wears a jetpack. So some characters have special actions they can do. They're only on their card. So he can move his speed, and then he can also jump.
Leap.
So
Okay.
he's faster than he looks because if he spins 2, it's not like he moves. He can move, and his special action is his leap. So he can get pretty far across the map in 1 turn.
He can get pretty far, but he's also in Narnia compared to
Yeah.
what that thing
Well,
is right now.
sure.
So
Sure.
I think it's pretty equidistant.
Okay.
But I definitely want the chest.
But it's,
Yeah, I
it's
think
a
you should get the
really
chest.
easy choice to have
Yeah.
Des move once and then open that without spinning an action die because she matches the color.
Yep.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? So there are some A's on here. I'm assuming is activated
Yeah.
abilities.
And that
so
means you have to spend a white die to
dice.
turn this
Okay.
on. Yep.
That's the leap I was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will activate Des.
sweet.
I will spend a dice to do the movement, speed 4. So 1, 2, 3. I want it, but I don't want to go farther because I won't be able to get the chest.
Yeah.
Right,
you
and,
can
and,
touch
and you
Yeah.
and you can't interrupt movement to do actions.
Right, that
so
makes sense.
yeah, you just
Yeah.
take the movement in there.
All right.
And then
so
you're gonna crack the chest.
I get that for free.
Yep. Roll
This
a.
goes away.
That goes
Yep,
away.
that's
Yep.
And then roll a blue die to see what's inside the chest.
All right.
Even a blank's a good result.
Okay. Come on.
1. Gain 3 loot tokens.
Ooh.
And then this one says if one of your gear had been broken, you get to put it back in your hand. But that
Okay.
one doesn't do anything for you
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that some of my gear costs 3 or less.
Mhm.
Is this something I can
You can put-
activate one now?
When it
Or
is your
purchase?
turn,
Yeah.
you can spend any loot you have to put a piece of gear on any of your characters.
Okay.
Each character can only have 1 piece of gear on them at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get knocked out, the gear on them breaks and is discarded.
Okay.
Now, one that's going to be really useful for I think what you're trying to do later is
Yeah.
the Hyperspring boots. It costs 2,
Mm-hmm.
and it says when this character runs, roll 2 red dice and add that to their speed.
Oh, I like that.
But
yeah.
for every blank you roll, they take a point of damage.
Yeah. Now the red is a good die, so it only has 1 blank on it.
Yeah.
But it's possible that Gubbin wearing those boots could kill himself.
I've seen it happen. It's
Yes.
terrible. But it can make Dreyfus
But
go.
that would make Dreyfus super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the stamina is the health.
That's
so
how-
once I take 2 hits, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to activate because we're doing the demo.
Yep.
So let's do the stuff of the game. So, I'm going to
spend
spend
2
2.
and put the boots on Dreyfus.
All right, sounds good.
So you just stick that card
So, yeah.
under or near Dreyfus.
Yeah, just stick it
under
in-
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that takes a action?
No.
dice? Oh,
No,
great.
putting gear on is just you buying stuff from the shop and putting on a character. You don't even have to do it during their activation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just your turn, so you're allowed to buy gear for somebody. Because some gear's defensive, and even though Des went, maybe you wanted to put armor on Gubbin.
Yeah.
And she's the one who got the gold, so you could just buy it right then and equip the character.
Excellent. I don't think there's really anything else for me to do with Des
So
here,
you just pass turn?
Yep.
Okay, so my turn starts. I don't have 4 characters in play because Oz is a jerk.
Hey, show people how the game works.
So
Yeah.
I am going to
The
spawn in
dice.
my Banfist, and he appears at the 3, hanging out with my good friend Eris over here.
Don't know how I feel about that. And is Gubbin still in cooldown here?
He until the end of the round.
round,
So
right.
when they're knocked out, you can't even spawn them out. At the end of the round, you make a random roll to see if the people in cooldown wake up or if they stay knocked out for the entire next round.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
there's a chance my Gubbin's out this game.
Yeah. Oh, so,
Yeah.
and you could have fewer.
I can have fewer than 4, and that's why you usually like. If you play a small model game, that's kind of part of the strategy. Whereas versus playing the 10 model game,
Yeah.
where you're like, I'll always have 4 people
Yeah.
on the board.
Okay. Yeah.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what?
First, there's no treasure.
Oh,
chest
thank you.
in play.
Oh yeah.
I almost missed
So
that.
you always check those 3 cards at the start of any player's turn. There's always 2 green cards, which are bounties, and 1 treasure card.
So the new one is the hidden chest, which say scouts open it for free, and our heiresses are a scout class.
Gotcha.
And it appears, so it can never appear at the one it was just at. It pops up over here.
1.
I think I'm going to follow your lead, and I'm going to have my Eris move. 1, 2, 3.
Seems good.
4.
So sometimes the game can be convenient and just drop things right in your lap.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a little more challenging.
Sometimes when you're playing Smash Brothers, the golden hammer comes down,
Oh,
and all of a
I
sudden you get to
understand.
knock people off the
Yeah.
stage.
I understand.
Also, sometimes you have 3 giants facing down a goblin. Actually, but this has the AOE effect to it, right?
Oh yeah,
So-
it does. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and make sure he's not there
Hey,
for very
hey.
long.
Oh,
Yeah.
spoilers.
Spoiler alert. So actually, I was here. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna walk here because characters next to your own Dreyfus, their
Yeah.
defense goes up by 1.
Yeah.
So my Eris stops being a 4/5 and becomes a 5/6. I'm gonna open the chest for free. Let's see what's inside of it. A 1. Gain 3 loot tokens, and you can immediately move a model in your crew 2 spaces.
Oh, wow.
So
Seems good.
I will do that, and I will move Balthazar 2 spaces into cover, which makes his defense go up by 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving into these costs you 2 movement points.
So Eris has 3 special abilities. One is that friendlies that start a run within 2 spaces of her get +1 speed. She's
Oh,
motivating
wow.
them.
Yeah.
Enemies within 2 spaces of her have -1 defense against ranged attacks made by anybody in your crew, so she makes people easier to hit. And then she herself, when she shoots somebody, after she hits them, she can move 3 spaces for free.
Ooh.
She's really swift.
Yeah.
So I'm going to spend the 3 loot I just got from that treasure chest, and I'm going to put bang rounds on Eris. They say your ranged attacks get +1 red die on all of them, and if you hit somebody, you get the beat back ability that Dez has, where you get to push people around.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It seems entirely unnecessary.
Well, yeah, you have like pluses here. You get the spotter ability on yourself, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
you just got
And I'm going to use that to shoot Gubbin directly in the back where his explosives are. Not that that's an actual game thing, just in my
Yeah.
head, that's the narrative of what's happening.
Did we covered the line of sight here, so you can
Yeah.
shoot through
Yeah, there's-
own character
no
enemy.
line of sight, you
Yes.
just count range.
Yeah.
And like Oz, I'm going to choose to spend 2 white dice to better my chance of attack. I get
And then for the
I get
random.
3 blue and 1 red die because I put the bang rounds down, and I'm going to shoot your
It's
Gubbin.
gonna be real sad when you miss with all those dice.
Now, Gubbin's normally a 5/6. I've got the spotter on you, so you're a 4/5. And there's a 5. Oh,
Oh,
and
you got the double.
I got the double.
Yeah,
so
and you got the 5.
I get the
Oof.
get lucky card. I get a scrap card.
Mm-hmm.
I send your Gubbin to Night Night Town.
Mm.
The 2 white dice are here. Then a loot token drops where Gubbin was. And my Swift Hunter ability we talked about, where when I hit somebody, I get to move 3 spaces for free. I'm going to go 1, 2, and I'll just go 3. So I immediately basically grab the loot you
Yeah.
just dropped. And that's my turn, Oz.
That was a good turn.
It was.
You are currently winning.
So your turn starts first off, new treasure chest.
Uh-huh.
It's the iron
It's gonna
chest.
be at the 3.
The iron chests say fighters open it for free. Now in the starter box, there is not a fighter class. However, one of the pieces of gear in the starter box, which increases your melee damage, called the Shard of Wrathrock, one of its beneficial abilities is it turns you into a fighter. So there is a way to become a fighter, but of course anybody can open this by spending a die. Would you get 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also says the charge ability and the fighter class in addition to its original
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes,
multi-class.
you go multi-class. Yeah,
Nice.
you basically dual class. Then we need a new bounty. So our new bounty is Bombing Run. Bombing Run says put a bomb token in the middle of the board. Anybody who walks across this space picks it up. It goes on the hero, and the only way you can drop it is by knocking that hero out. Then put a target on a random spawn
I
gate.
rolled a 5.
So the 5 has become the target. The goal. If you pick up the bomb and that hero is next to the target, you can do the 5th and final action we haven't talked about, which is called a rig test. You spend a white die on that hero and they do a rig test. You roll 3 blue dice, and if you get 3 or more hits, you successfully rig. If you don't, you fail. Bombing Run says if you succeed, claim this bounty is worth 2. If you fail, take 2 damage.
Oof.
Every rig
rough.
test, yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm gonna put the bomb on the.
Yeah.
Every rig test has a special text at the bottom that says if you match this modifier, when you make the rig test, you also roll a red die for a better chance.
Yeah.
And this one says if you're undamaged. So if an undamaged hero tries to rig the bomb, they get the red die as well. But if you fail, you become damaged. So we've got the Brain Snatcher, and we've got the Bombing Run as our 2 bounties.
Okay.
Interesting.
So
I
Oz,
also, my turn's really starting now. I have to spawn in my Eris because I have only 3 heroes on because my Gubbin got blowed up. So we're gonna pop out at the 3 over here, Eris on Eris party. So she's going to move, since there's a treasure chest right there, might as well. She's gonna move to here. She's gonna spend 1, because I don't match that, to grab that. It's open now.
Go and roll me a die and tell me what
And
you
I
get.
roll blue, and I get the double. I get the best result.
Gain 3 loot tokens, and you can immediately return 1 spent action die on one of your models to your dice well.
Ooh,
There's
Eris.
3.
Eris will do that for free then. Cool. I like that. And then I'd really like to punish you in some way for blowing up my govern.
I like this is gonna be you and me
I
just
know.
beating, and you're
That
gonna.
sounds great.
Yeah.
I like that. But also, I am right here, so.
We're gonna get sharked, Oz. That's how this
There's-
works.
This is my first time. I don't know how to play.
Now the other thing
So
I don't-
Over here, like.
is most heroes have 3 stamina, so 3 hit points.
Yeah.
The most damage you can do to heroes generally, unless there's some crazy card or something I don't know about, is 2 damage. So Gubbin's the only 2 hit point character that we're playing with right now. So if I get
yeah.
the best result I could possibly get on either of your models,
Yeah.
it would leave you with 1 hit point.
And it will make them very mad.
Yes. It would let me dodge around a bit
Yeah.
though. And since we've been ignoring you, I might as well.
There.
So, I got some loot. Let's. I wish Gubbin was still on the table because I gave him the Echo's Blazer. Let's put the boots on my Dreyfus so we can have a race to that thing.
All right.
So I'm gonna spend 2. Now my Dreyfus is also wearing boots.
Yeah.
All right.
And then my Eris is going to shoot your Dez, because Dez is a little bit easier of a target to hit.
It's true.
Yeah. So Dez is
She's
normally
only
a,
a 3/6.
but she's down to a
Now
2/5
she's a 2/5.
because you got her that spotter range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just need a 2, and I rolled a 4, so I didn't get the better result.
Your
but
Dez takes a
you
point,
get a little band-aid.
Yeah.
and then you get the Swift Hunter ability, Oz, because
And
you
that
hit somebody with
did-
Eris,
That did go off.
so you can move 3 spaces for
So
free.
then she's gonna also head toward that Cortex brain over there.
Interesting.
All right.
So, some positioning.
Yeah.
So, your turn starts. We have the puzzle chest appears, and that one is opened by Specialist for free, which
gonna be
is
the-
Bamfist.
Yeah, it's gonna
Oh,
be
and
4.
it's right there.
Oh, handy.
I don't.
Ooh.
So yeah, your turn. You actually have like a lot of options
I
right
do,
now.
I
It's
do. I mean, because I see the gear up over here. That was on Sir Dreyfus,
yeah,
right?
that's
So
mine.
like I'm looking at the bomb.
like you could literally hyperspring
I
boots.
can, yeah.
If you roll well, go a million miles. Spin the die to jump. You might be able to plant the bomb this turn if you roll well.
Yeah. And this is like I'm pretty safe. I probably have
Yeah.
ability to
Yeah.
do that in the future turn, and you're coming for that. So I think
Yeah.
that is what I'm going to do. So it's going to be Sir Dreyfus.
Okay.
So it's the 4-speed. So before moving, I can roll 2 of the red dice.
Yep. And for every strike, you get +1 speed, and for every blank, you take a point of damage.
Okay.
Just roll real good, it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Just get that hot +4 speed.
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh no!
You take 2 damage.
Oh.
You didn't blow yourself up.
Right.
That's
100%.
that's the
Dice are
equivalent.
not with me.
That's the equivalent of
Snake
Snake Eyes.
That's Snake Eyes right there. Yeah.
Wow. So I'm so excited.
I was
it's
so
just
excited
like-
for you too.
Yeah.
You still get to move and everything.
Yeah.
It's just the boots didn't really go off.
I imagine role playing Sir Dreyfus is over there getting all charged up, and then
And
like,
then it's like Looney Tunes. Like it's like
Yeah.
spark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm
So
just moving my.
You're 4.
Yeah.
Just moving your normal speed now.
All right. Yeah. I was thinking. I realized I could have to do multiple things. I could have done punch you over here, but there's not much motivation. I've already chosen the move action, so I will move straight into here.
Okay.
Right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep. And now you pick the
Get
bomb up and
this.
put it on
Put
Dreyfus.
it on Dreyfus.
Yep.
Uh,
And you spend 1 white die
White
on
dice,
Dreyfus
yes.
to move.
Yep.
I think that's all I can do.
And
Okay.
then, well, you can still leap if you wanted to go 2 more spaces that direction.
Ooh, yeah,
But that would
for
be
my-
spinning more dice now.
Yeah.
It's just once you're done taking a turn with Dreyfus, you can't take any more turns unless the white die comes off him later, like I got that.
Yeah.
that treasure.
Yeah. I think I'll go ahead and do that leap.
Okay.
Keep moving a little farther.
And then his leap says place 2 spaces, and what a place in a move is, a place is literally pick them up, ignore the normal movement rules, and then put them. So like a Dreyfus here could leap to here because it's just
right.
that's within 2 spaces. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you could jump into the cover.
Oh.
Because that normally takes 2 spaces to move into, but you could just hop right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then when you're in cover, your defense goes up by 1 on both, so he's now 4-7.
Yeah, because I don't want to be damaged holding this because it makes
Yeah,
me
'cause you've
worse.
only got-
Well, I
You've
mean,
only
you can
got
still
one.
try and
Oh,
play
wait, I am damaged.
because your
'cause
boots
my
exploded.
boots
It went the
Oh.
most wrong it possibly could.
It did. That's okay. Dreyfus has a strong spirit, so
Yeah.
we'll make it work.
We'll see if we can help him out a little
Mm.
bit. I'm gonna have.
Help him out on into the cooler. Is that-
I'm gonna see what I can do. Well, that bomb's there.
yeah.
I am going to have. So I activate. I've got 4 people in play. There's a treasure chest. I've got 2 bounties. I'm gonna have my Dez move. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I just see that he's having some problems with his boots. So I'm gonna see if I can't shoot those off. They seem like they're sparking
Yeah.
and they're
I
firing.
feel like I painted a target on my back by grabbing that bomb.
Actually, only when your boots exploded and then you took the damage.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I could have ended up here. I could have
I know you were-
gone all the way.
Yeah. There's blood in the water.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm gonna try and shoot you. You are a 4-7 because you're in cover.
Excellent.
I got a 4.
That's a-
Yeah.
So that does the last point of damage.
It
'cause-
does.
So I get a scrap card for taking out a hero. Your Dreyfus goes to your
to your
cooler.
cooler. You're using the wrong cooler.
My bad.
There.
Yeah. A loot drops in his space. The bomb falls off of him and pops now in that space. And then the damage tokens just come back to bank.
Right.
The spent dice remain on Dreyfus till the end of the round.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right,
Those
Oz.
dice are locked in.
You go.
My turn. I have 2 more action dice, and I have my Dreyfus, which could do what your Dreyfus tried to do. See if it
Tried.
works. We might as well do that.
Are you gonna hyperspring?
I'm gonna hyperspring boost too. I set it up. We got the expectation. We've seen the worst that could happen.
Yeah.
That
It
can't
can't be
happen
any
a
worse than
second
that.
time.
Watch you roll the opposite. Watch you roll the 4 and get
I'm
plus
gonna
4
be so
speed.
mad.
That would be
Yeah.
the most amazing thing. Okay, so I got 2. So I
Okay.
got the average roll.
Okay, so
Yeah.
your speed 6.
So I'm speed 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can get all the way up to there. And
Then you
then
can-
I have 1 more die left. And Dreyfus has an electro bolt little zap he can throw out with his.
It's range
with
2,
his
but
thing.
it's less dice because he's much better in
yeah,
punching
he's
people.
much better at punching people. But I could shoot somebody now, or I could just jetpack into this space and grab that treasure that you dropped and pick up the
And the
bomb for
bomb,
later.
yeah. Then you are not damaged
I
from your
will do
boots,
that.
so-
My boots did not fry me, so there you go.
All right.
Alright.
So your go. You need to spawn your gubbin in because you don't have 4 people.
So I roll dice. Or I have my own dice.
Every-
right?
yeah, the starter set comes with enough stuff for 1 player, which is all the dice included, all the cards. You only ever use 1 set of bounty and treasure cards, but everything else from the starter you will use.
I'm gonna be very far away from the action.
You on the 1?
Over here, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, and one last thing we didn't mention: when your Dreyfus got knocked out, your boots are now broken,
Right.
so they are in a
Yes.
discard pile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are things that can bring things out of your discard pile back to your store, but you just don't have it right now.
Yeah. Whew, that was a rough turn. So I have my Balthazar who can pick some stuff up. Have punching.
Yeah, that
And-
treasure chest. The treasure chest is free for Balthazar to open, so
Yeah.
that's a really cheap turn you can take.
And here's something because right now you've got 3 dice left.
Yeah.
I've got 1 dice and Oz has none.
Right.
So if you decide you're like, okay, my Eris, my Balthazar, and my Gubbin have 3 actions to spend total, right? Can I maybe in some way pick out an enemy character and try and pick on them and take them out in 1 turn? Like it's kind of hard to do right now, but that's stuff like when you're in a position where you've been taking conservative turns.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you now have an advantage at the end of the round because you kind of get to do everything you want.
Yes.
Right. Got range. Here. So I could come and start beating up on this Eris.
Why would you pick on my Eris?
There.
Nothing.
There's a lot of reasons, Oz.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons.
Because I kind of blame you for the boots failure. I don't know why. It just
Did I
feels
jinx
because you were
by-
standing next
I
to
mimicked
me
you
over
and it just
here.
threw the
Yeah.
whole thing off. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think you could pick on the Eris. I think with 3 dice, your Eris and your Gubbin haven't gone, right?
yeah.
Right.
Your Eris could spend 1 die to shoot the Balthazar, and then and he's in spotter range, so she's negating his cover. And then on your next activation, your Gubbin could run over and throw a bomb on Balthazar, and then you have 2 different attacks, and maybe that kills him. But like you said, maybe you want to. I think this is what I was talking about when I said like you can't really plan out 3 or 4 turns ahead.
Yeah,
but you have a couple immediate strategies, but you still have player agency. You have like good choices to make every turn.
Yeah. What is my movement over here? I think. And so when we're talking range too, that's for you can. So if Des was here, for example, with a range of 3, I can do 1, 2, 3.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But
so
remember, Des can't activate again because she's got to die.
Oh,
on her.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I
But
forgot
yes,
about that.
So that's why
But-
he was saying.
Yeah,
But
I see the.
Absolutely. If your Des was here,
Yeah.
you don't have to count ranges in a straight line, so you
Yeah.
could go 1, 2, 3 for
That's
sure.
good, yeah. I'll do the shooty plan because that's easy.
Yeah.
Go back to your plan. So, take aim on
Probably Eris.
Balthasar. Yeah, with Eris over here. So that is going to be my Magnabo pistols. So 3 of these.
And 1 white.
I have
And
my 1.
Balthazar's a Rockin' Def 3/5, so just gotta hit 3.
So yeah, sure. I
Easy
can do that. Easy peasy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about
Yeah.
super damage? So
Six.
that's
you.
that's
That's
me.
yours.
Why am I talking
Yeah.
you into beating me up?
I
I
don't know.
lost track of what color I
I
was.
know. I was thinking.
You're blue.
No.
He was trying
Yeah.
to throw you
No!
in the
Yeah.
and it backfired on
Yeah.
him. So that goes onto your Eris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And then Hungerford, he had a really good plan. Next turn, you can move your Gubbin and also attack that Balthazar.
Oh yeah.
And maybe get a scrap.
Yeah. That's great. I like that.
No.
All right.
Is that your turn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to finish the round out, and do we have enough time to finish the round out?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
If we.
Because you and I just have a couple dice
Yeah.
left, and then I want to go over how the coolers, like guys might come out,
Yeah.
and then that'll be the
Yeah.
first round. I'm not going to do anything too special. I'll just have my my Dreyfus. Like so, in a normal game, I would run my Dreyfus over here and like get into position, and then you don't get a
I'm
turn,
done.
Oz,
I'm
because
out.
you don't have any dice. So then it comes back to you.
Yeah.
And for your final, I just want to see if Gubbin blows up my Balthazar. Now
Yeah, so
that I
I have a
realize I've betrayed
speed-
myself.
5, so I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 to here.
Yeah.
Or here.
Yeah.
Either one.
Yep. But you also have range 3, so you don't have to come all the way over here.
All right. So I think I can go here and stay
Yep.
back a little bit. All right, and I have too many explosives, so I get 4 of these.
Yep.
I spent 1 for the movement, so I have 1 of these left.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now the dice are rolling well. Oh.
That's still enough because he's only got 1
Yep.
health left.
Yeah.
So, he was down to 3.
The 3.
So you would blow my Balthazar up. You would get your first VP,
Sweet.
and
On the board.
just to show what it would look like, a loot would
Yeah.
drop there.
Yep.
Then,
And then that Balthazar goes in his
oh,
cooler.
I know.
Everybody's in
Then-
the cooler.
This would be the end of the round. All of our dice are spent, so we take all of our dice off our heroes.
Okay.
For every character you have in the cooler, you then roll 1 white die, and for every strike you roll, you get to take someone out of the cooler and put them back on your bench. So, like, I'm gonna roll for these 2. I got a double, so I actually get both of them back. That is a really unlikely roll. I could have
Oh,
been
wow.
stuck with one of them.
Like, I
Yeah.
rolled a blank on
So-
my 1, so
so
my
back-
Gubbin's stuck in the cooler.
and then you
I
would roll
roll
for your
1?
Dreyfus, and your Dreyfus is stuck in the
stuck
cooler.
in the cooler.
Then, normally, we would roll 6 dice to see who goes first, and
Yeah.
round 2 would start.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's it.
That was fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, now normally rounds don't take that long because we were talking.
Yeah,
through
oh yeah,
and stuff.
absolutely.
But a one-on-one game can sometimes go 20 minutes.
Yeah. And first time playthrough,
Yeah,
you know, as
yeah.
you get more confident with it. I have to say, of the minis games that I have played, I like not having the roll off. Like, for so many games, it's like,
Yeah.
I do my attack, it's your defense, we'll do dice,
Yeah, yeah.
and then so many times just nothing happens.
Yeah,
'cause,
we
like,
want to
the-
keep all of the action in this game fast.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make it deadly without it being just a murder spree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can blanket characters, and sometimes somebody like my shot earlier when Gubbin only has 2 hit points and I super damaged him.
Mm-hmm.
But often it takes a couple of hits to knock a character out.
Man, I'm so mad that
I love that you talk.
I'm so mad that the bomb plan
love
didn't
you-
work. It was so
you
cool.
talk
It was gonna
yourself-
work.
Oh, for mine
Yeah, it was
too.
gonna be so
For
awesome.
I was gonna run, I was gonna get a 4, go over
yeah.
here, leap over to it,
Now, the
no
thing-
damage.
And the thing I think I just want to reiterate for anybody watching is that that's the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Like
we'll
there's
replay
there's
the
new
whole
bounties that are gonna show up. Like a death trap shows up and it starts manning around the board and it eats people and you have to go break it. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of crazy stuff that happens, but like the game is no more complex than the round you just watched us play, and that's it. And that's what we were shooting for.
All right.
Something just a little easier to pick up and go for.
What is the bomb plant roll?
The
Is
roll?
it-
It would have been,
It's
it would have been
the
3
rig.
blue and 1 red.
It's the rig roll on here.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to get 3 hits.
Yeah.
You just want to see? Oh
One
my,
hit,
okay,
yeah,
this
that
would have
wouldn't
failed
have
at
been-
so many
So then you would have
points.
taken 2 damage for that.
Yeah,
too.
and then I would have been dead. Well, I guess I wouldn't have had the
Yeah.
damage
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's about as much time we have. I can attest this is even funner than I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be. So this has been
Yeah.
really great playing this. And again, your booth here for
429-ish.
All you have to
It's
do
been a
is
long day.
you go to the
429.
400 aisle and you look for our giant
giant
circular
sign,
privateer press. It's
eye
got
in the
a Skyro
sky.
logo on it and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
I will
We're
be
easy
circling
to
the booth
spot.
just yelling.
Yeah.
You'll see me.
And you
Yeah.
have demos, and you actually have it for sale
Yes.
here
Yes.
in the pre-release,
Yeah.
and also pre-order for future.
We have
Well,
s-
you can talk to your stores and stuff, and
Okay.
they'll easily be able to pre-order it. And
Yeah.
we have solicitations out for the next models that are coming, so you can.
Well,
send
and that's
them
the thing. We have all of
later
Wave
stuff.
1. So we have the core models you see here, and we have the next 6 hero expansions for sale at the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So somebody can walk away with a roster of 11 models today.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
which gives you 11 cards to pick from and 11 heroes, so you got a whole bunch of combinations right out of the gate.
Yep.
Yeah, and the official release is
So
is September soon.
September soon.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe mid-September, but don't quote me on it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this excellent demo. This has been Riot Quest with Privateer Press. Thank you, Gen Con, for joining us, and we will be back soon with more awesome content. See you then.
Goodbye.
Bye.